All right, so we're going to get started, and I'm excited that you guys are here. We have, I don't know if you guys really know why you're here. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I'm going to tell you. You're here because you guys are part of Market Centers. You guys are there's 5 Market Centers on here, and that I've invited, and you should be extremely proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. The region is proud of you that your market centers are the 5 that are using Command at a higher level than the other 25. So you guys are using it the most. You guys are leveraging opportunities the most. You have more contacts in your database than other market centers. You're using more smart plans than other market centers. So basically what it comes down to is you're just using Command more than any other market centers in our region. And for that, I wanted to congratulate you and have a mastermind around that. We have some really cool guests that are going to be joining us today. One of them is the team leader at the KW Livingston office, Erin McKenzie. She's going to be one of our guests because the MI Roots team is using Command 100%. I believe they recently jumped off of Brivity. They're also in the top 20 teams in our region. So we're going to talk to Erin about how MI Roots is now using Command now that they've left Brivity, which is pretty sweet. I'm also going to have an agent from Boston, Massachusetts. Her name is Kimberlee Meserve, and you may have seen her. She's been on a couple masterminds with Gary and Jason. And what's awesome about Kimberlee is she's a solo agent. She recently started a team in the sense that she brought on one agent, and I think she's looking for a showing agent. But up until last month, she was a solo agent. Last year in Boston was her first full year in Boston. She's from Maine originally, and she started using opportunities. Her production in Boston last year was 11 million, but this year her production will double. She'll probably end the year around 22 to 25 million. And her opportunities pipeline is at just shy of 1 million GCI. And I'm going to have her on talking to you about when she started using opportunities, how it just kind of really put lead generation on, steroids in a sense. And he's running a little bit late because he's in a meeting with Gary. He's in a meeting with Gary, so he's running a few minutes late. But Marc King, the Director of Growth for KWRI, will be joining us. He just texted me he's running a few minutes late. He was supposed to be our first guest because he has a call at noon for leadership. But that's fine. So we'll just hang out and wait for him. But what I want to talk about to get started is, first of all, congratulations to all you guys for becoming the top market centers in our region for leveraging Command. And I just want to hear from some of you who are using Command, what you're doing, right? How are you using opportunities? How are you leveraging smart plans? Because you guys are definitely doing it at a higher level than our other market centers. So anybody who's on the call, anybody who's sitting in the training room at Livingston, feel free to just jump in and be like, hey, I'm using opportunities this way, or I'm using smart plans this way, or I'm running campaigns and these are the results that we're having. I just want everyone to learn from one another so we can just continue to get better and better and better. If there's team leaders on the call or market center tech trainers on the call, talk about what you guys are teaching in your classes, that are getting your agents more engaged. So I'm just going to leave, Erin's jumping on too, but I'm going to leave the floor open right now just to anyone who wants to jump in and talk about what they've been doing to elevate their business with Command.
Hey, Nick, this is Patty, Grand Rapids West.
Hey, Patty.
Hey, how are ya?
Good.
Good. Okay, so I think a very important thing that we've implemented through Lee Smith, who's here, our tech driver, and also Jeremy, who's our productivity coach, is when we are onboarding these agents, new agents coming to us, we are taking them through a tech orientation and actually implementing the list that you gave us. So right away, we're not just telling them, here, do it, here's how you do it. We're actually doing it with them and for them before they ever leave from an onboarding session. And then we're also reaching out to our existing agents and just offering that same kind of help. So Jeremy's using all of Command through his coaching sessions with all of his clients. And I think we're just trying to put a lot of emphasis and give a lot of attention to the whole thing.
So just so everyone understands, the list that I gave you, is that the list that kind of walks someone through what onboarding is?
Yep.
Okay, so do you want to just kind of talk about that for a sec? Because if you guys don't know, there is a list. I mean, I can bring it up too if you don't have it in front of you. It's basically what it means to officially be onboarded to Command, like what it means to be using Command. And I can just pull that.
Okay, I've got mine here too.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to tell us, that'd be great.
Okay, so basically it's using contacts and smart plans, get your SOI imported, your database 100%, everybody tagged, 50% of contacts on a smart plan. In designs, 100% marketing profile completed, listing presentation, and a social post saved to my designs. Save design projects to my library, and then brand your kit. Sorry, I've got the landscape guys with me.
Oh, that's your landscape. That's okay.
Their lawnmowers right out my window.
That's fine.
Then do a campaign, get a first one launched, and then an opportunities. Just get stages set and checklists created, current active listings and buyers. And then the consumer app, 75% of all contacts to receive an invite from the agent's client app. So we're taking them through, and Jeremy and I have a 2-hour orientation with the new onboarding agent. So we can get most of this completed with them. In fact, if Jeremy has their logo and if Jeremy has their information, he actually has their profile set up already ready to push the button when they get with us. So some of this stuff will have to be follow-up, but it's just a really cool, and a lot of these things I think are part of our vital signs report. So it looks really good on that report when you can get as many people in as possible.
100%. So yeah, it's definitely, because what I've been doing, part of my role as regional tech trainer is going down the list of the top 200 teams in our region. And what I'm finding and talking to them about their business and about the things that the tech that they're using now, if they've started using Command. My goal is not to sell someone onto Command. It's to figure out what they're doing in their business and see if Command can, save them some money and so on and so forth. But yeah, so that's essentially what you're doing. And there's always follow-up, right? Because when you're talking to a mega team, especially a team that's in the top 20 or 30, I mean, that's a big ship that you have to redirect, right? If you want to help them transition from one system to another, if they're doing, 200 million, 100 million, it's definitely a big ship to steer. But I love that you're using those bullet points, because those are really the features or applets within Command that drive the entire system. Like once you get your sphere in there and you start using specific smart plans, it just kind of starts to take off for you. So I love that you're doing that. I appreciate that. Hey, if anybody else want to just jump in for a minute and talk about, how any other tech trainer or team leader, I want to know what you're doing effectively in your market center to help train and bring more clarity around Command, because whatever you're doing is working. So there's got to be some genius answers to those questions. So who wants to jump in? I'm going to call on somebody like in school, like if nobody raises their hand. I'm going to just call on them. I'm going to call on Lee Smith because Lee's here and I love Lee, and Lee's very smart with the tech. So Lee, I'm just going to call on you. What are you guys doing in your market center? You're the market center tech trainer. What are you guys doing in your market center regularly? Lee, don't cop out on me now, Lee.
You have to unmute.
right, you know what I'm going to do? Erin's here. I'm going to jump into Erin because Marc King's running a little bit late. I was gonna talk to Erin after Marc, but he's running a little bit late. So let's go to Erin, and then we will take it from there. So, Erin McKenzie, you don't really need much of an introduction, but I'll introduce you anyway.
Sure.
You're now the team leader of the Livingston office, which is awesome. That kind of happened really quietly.
I was on maternity leave and I just came back and had a new role.
That's true. Your team is MI Roots. You're in the top 20 for teams in our region, and you were using Brivity, and your team had really high expectations for Command.
We still do.
Still do. Well, right. I mean, it's not like you stopped having those expectations.
Yeah.
But talk to us about when you made that transition.
Sure. So we've been really excited about Command since, the announcement, right? We were at family reunion. Gary said he's spending $1 bajillion on tech and we're all in. And it's really easy to be excited when you're in the auditorium with 17,000 KW agents. But then when you get home and you have this system that's functioning like Brivity, we were, totally all in with Brivity. It's kind of hard to make that leap. So we were doing this really, really, really slow roll. And we were going to switch over eventually someday. And we were playing with it. We were slowly moving into Command, but just with not any urgency whatsoever. When the lockdown happened, and we know Gary preaches cut expenses, cut 10%, then cut 10 more. I was looking at our P&L, and that was one of the largest expenses we had outside of salaries. And we decided it was time to do it. Things were slower. We were still selling through the lockdown, but obviously not at the same rate. And God bless my admins. I have 2 killer full-time admins who said, okay, we'll do it. So they took the time over lockdown and really got us ramped up. And we're as all in with Command as we can be at this point.
That's awesome. So what are you leveraging at the highest level with Command right now to help with your business?
So ads have been great. Obviously, that's really simple and easy to use. And Jessica, our marketing manager, has been doing a great job on our ads. They're producing leads, and they're producing leads that, with the right follow-up, are really turning into stuff. The follow-up is key, just like any other online lead generation, whether it's Zillow or anything else, but she's got a great system around that. And then the neighborhood smart plans have been really great too for our team.
So what kind of ads are you running on Facebook? I've seen a couple of your ads. I saw the Instagram story ads, which looked really great. I don't know if a lot of people know that that's a thing, but you can create Instagram stories, which is great because Instagram stories get more engagement than stories in the feed. Mm-hmm. But what are your best performing ads so far?
So we do ads around all of our listings, of course, and open houses, which get really great feedback, especially in a market like this when inventory is so low. Leads are just there to be captured, right? Because people are looking to grab the information about new listings first. And if we put it out on social first, we're going to capture those eyes. And as far as brand awareness goes, we do what do we call it? Our Community Roots program, which is similar enough to Homes for Heroes. And we get a lot of recognition around that too.
And so you are having success with the follow-up. We all know, I mean, not all of us don't know, but I mean, here's the thing, KW scaled Facebook lead generation more than any brokerage has ever done, right? Like 180,000 agents now have the ability to easily run Facebook ads without thinking much about how.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that Facebook leads aren't realtor.com leads. They're not Zillow leads. They're not open house leads. They're not those right now ready to buy leads. So that's the problem, right? It's about knowing your script. Like if I said to the average agent, how are you going to follow up with someone who says they're 9 to 12 months out? Like they're going to freeze, right?
Right.
And a lot of times with Facebook, that's really what they are. I mean, eventually you'll find a diamond in the rough who's ready to buy now, but it's about having that 9 to 12 month follow-up. Are you guys like really focusing on that long-term nurture?
Yep, Jessica, I'm here speaking to you, but truly the brains of the operation are Abby and Jessica. I want to be clear on that. Hire yourself a good boss and let them run your business, and they do a great job of that. So Jessica has our follow-up. She does our marketing as well as handles all of our inbound leads and follow-up. She sets the appointments for our agents with a really great built-out plan, and she's extremely systematic about it.
So with the plans, are you using a mix of like texting, email, tasks, neighborhood nurtures,
The whole nine.
that type of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with the Facebook leads, how long have you been running those leads? And I'm just curious, like, are you seeing any?
Through Command?
Yeah.
You've
been running, you ran them from Brivity before, right?
We ran them directly through Facebook before.
Okay.
What we're finding now with the leverage that we have through Command, we're getting a lot more leads for a lot less money.
For sure. And so are you finding that they're becoming responsive over time with that follow-up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I can actually give you our conversion rate if you give me a second.
I would love to know your conversion rate if you have it.
Like I said, Jessica's a genius and she's super duper organized. So she sends me a weekly update. So she's averaging, I think about, according to this last report, the last full month we had a 4.71 conversion rate for all the inbound leads that we get. And that's from all sources.
4.71%?
Mm-hmm. That's from all sources of leads that come into her. Okay. But a lot of the leads that come in are through social media.
Okay, so let's just round it up to 5%, just to make it easier. So roughly a 5% conversion rate on internet leads. Now I just want everyone to know the average conversion rate for internet leads is 1%.
Yeah, and that's all lead sources, not just online, but
so like maybe 3% then.
Sure. But she's so systematic about it and so diligent. Get yourself a Jessica or a Jessica plan.
Jessica, whatever she's paying you, I'll double it. No, I'm kidding.
I'll kill you.
No, I think that's great. So I know opportunities was a big, like I know when you moved over from Brivity had a lot of great features that, kept your clients in the loop with emails that went out about what marketing emails, essentially keeping them up to date with what you're doing that day with their house. Mm-hmm. I know that was that Jessica who was I was talking to that time? Yep. Okay, yes, she's very analytical, but she's great. So you're clearly using opportunities, right? And where is it now at this point? What's her thoughts on it, and be completely transparent?
Sure. So anything that Command isn't doing that Brivity did, the girls are now doing manually. And that's a rub, right? But we also see that Command's morphing, and every time we come up with a new thing that we miss about Brivity and we turn to Nick or somebody, it's coming, which is great. And we're willing now to be patient for it. And my P&L is also willing to be patient for it, which is great. And so they have built out really big checklists. So we're back to checklists, back to manual for some things, and that's okay. We were already manually doing weekly emails to our clients, separate from Brivity. So now it's just, doubling down those efforts to, rather than an automated email that Brivity was sending out, we're doing it manually.
That's awesome. Yeah, because, the thing is, KW is getting a lot of feedback on what agents want, what they need. And what agents I think have to understand is, it's not as simple as just like clicking a button, right? Like they just can't make some update happen by snap.
You see my dad.
Hold on, I'm going to mute everybody, and then Erin, if you want to unmute yourself. Okay, and then we'll finish the conversation.
We're good.
Yeah, so it's not one of those things where, let's go back to when like emails was a big issue, right? Like, why can't I send emails? it's one of those things you take for granted. Email is one of the most complicated pieces of tech, even though, and we use it every day, so we think it's super simple. But when you give 180,000 agents the ability to send millions of emails from one platform, you have to take a lot into consideration, right? And so that's why that was slow to roll out. And when they build out things like opportunities, they then have to take into account a lot of the things that different agents want, right? And so I think, for you guys, when the ability to send checklists to your clients, is that made available to you yet? I'm not exactly, okay. We're still beta testing it. It's still in labs. So when I said, well, your favorite part of Brivity is the ability to send automated emails to your clients in terms of checklists to let your client to know what you're doing every day to get their home sold, you guys were like, that's like basically what we were waiting for. And it's on the way, right? We just want to make sure that it's as close to perfect as possible because nothing will ever be perfect.
Absolutely.
You're doing what you can right now. Mm-hmm. And have you noticed, like, has it affected your business in a negative way?
No, and it hasn't, because the girls are so great about it, right? So it's forced us to be more intentional with our conversations and more intentional with our efforts on the back end. But because we're being so intentional with it, it's working fine. So it's just kicking it a little old school, picking up the phone and calling people or typing your own email. And like I said, we were already pushing the manual Friday follow-up emails. Yeah. So it's just, that's all. It took away a little bit of that automation that we got really used to, and we're looking forward to getting it back. But in the meantime, and I hope the girls aren't listening and thinking they're going to kill me for saying it's fine, they're fine.
You're like, speak for yourself.
Exactly.
Hey, so how much money has your team saved now that you've switched from Brivity to Command? How much do you think your team has saved?
So we moved over officially in May, and we were spending $1,500 a month. So May, June, July, August. So $6,000.
Oh, so you had just recently started using Brivity when we were talking. What were you using before that?
No. We had been on Brivity for a long time. We were spending $1,500 a month.
So far you've saved $6,000.
Right.
But in the course of 12 months, it'll save you, what is that, like
3 times that?
Right. I can't do math.
18.
But that's awesome. And so where are you gonna put that newfound money?
So truly, what pushed us, right? We know through Bold, we move away from pain more than we move towards pleasure. And the reason we switched all into Brivity was to save money, to cut it. Because when it comes down to it with the virus, the last thing I wanted to do was have to cut a staff member, right? I've promised these people to create a world for them to build their livelihoods in. And if cutting the comfort of Brivity meant I got to keep a staff member employed, I'm good. My staff are my sun and my moon and my stars. I get emotional about them. It's a thing. So if it comes down to it, like Brivity or keeping a staff member, there's not even a concern. Now, fast forward 2 years from now, when hopefully the virus is no longer a problem and we're no longer freaking out about, the sky falling, that $18,000 could go in a lot of different places. And according to the MREA budget models, we're actually underspending on lead gen still. So we'll move more that way.
I love it. Well, this is really, this is great stuff. I love talking to, you and teams like you around Command, because it puts a lot of things into perspective. Like nothing is ever really going to be perfect, sure. Right? Like, let's use your iPhone, for instance. I think like once a week, my contacts and my text messages completely go away, and I'm like freaking out, right?
Haven't even update?
No, I did update. It's just, I don't know, the iPhone 11, it's not so great, but I'll just sit it out and I'll wait for the improvement. And so sometimes that's just kind of like the way we have to go about things. Like no technology is ever going to be perfect. And like you said, sometimes we had to go a little bit back to manual until the automation comes back. However, I will say, like, some aspects of Command are designed to get you to talk to people.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, like, I get a lot of questions like this. Nick, somebody replied to my Facebook Smart Plan and they told me that they're pre-approved for $500,000 and they want to go look at a house. What Smart Plan should I put them on? I'm
The
like,
one where you go show them a
yeah,
house.
the one where you call them, right? Like that's like with technology, agents are afraid that technology is going to take their job, but then at the same time, they want technology to do the entire job.
Right.
So you can't have it both ways. But anyway, I appreciate you being on. Thank you for jumping in early. I know that you originally wanted to go a little bit later, but we'll blame Marc King. It's his fault. So when he comes on next after you can yell, he's here. Marc, it's totally your fault, Marc. I'm just kidding.
I will take it. I have broad shoulders. Sorry about that, Erin.
Not a problem.
Yeah, listen, Gary Keller wanted to have a word, so there's nothing we can do. It is what it is. So Erin, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.
Hey, Marc.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I am doing great. Hey, Marc, can you introduce yourself to everyone? Because I'm sure some of the agents know who you are, but I definitely know our leaders do, but some of our agents might not be too familiar with you. So if you want to just introduce yourself so I don't screw it up.
Yeah, really short. I'm the guy who makes a lot of mistakes and have been for 20 years in international incidents and all those good things. I've been in almost every role other than the MCA in this company. And today with my partner, Matt Green, I'm the director of growth. So we work directly with Gary Keller, and our job is to grow the company, grow the agents, and grow the business. So that's our job. I've been a regional director. I have an interest in 8 different market centers. And what a lot of people don't remember is that up until 2008, I was a real estate agent. I was number 67 in the country at the time. And so I have not because I was any good, but because I had an amazing team around me. So a lot of people today will ask me, did you ever sell real estate? Like they don't know. They think I've been in the leadership path. So I like to remind people. In fact, I do about 20 referrals a year. So I still feel like I have a real estate business, right? So, but I wanted to come on and share. And Nick, I told Gary, Nick's waiting for me, and he said, "Oh my gosh, he trumps me." So I had to jump off. But I wanted to share a little bit of different perspective, if it's okay, Nick. And I'll answer any question. I'm super transparent. I heard some of your conversation around some of your technology frustrations, and I too have dealt with that. But I wanted to share a story. Remember pre-COVID when we could see each other and hug each other and all that good stuff? I miss those days, but I was in a room with Gary Keller and Josh Team and 100 recruits at Family Reunion, and no Keller Williams people were allowed. And it was the ask me anything, we'll be transparent conversation. And the number one aha I had in both rooms, I was in the top individual recruits, 10 million and more, and the top 100 mega agent guests at Family Reunion. And the biggest aha I received is every single one of those people without question thought our technology was amazing, saw where we were going, and were joining Keller Williams because of the technology, where internally our agents didn't feel that way at that time, right? Some of them are coming along and doing that, but it was such an interesting perspective for me because we went from this, we're the client of Apple, for example. We expect Apple to work. My text messages crash too each week, but we're the client. We expect that technology to be delivered to us and for it to be awesome and be amazing. Instead of what I think Gary's vision has been all along is that we're going to build this together. We're always going to be building it. It's never going to be done because we're going to keep improving on it. So it was fascinating to see all these top agents, and they would say, and I don't want to throw any other companies under the bus, but they would say things like, Remax has nothing like this, right? They just have a third-party CRM, and Berkshire Hathaway isn't even going down this path, and so it was just fascinating to see that the people on the outside thought what we had was amazing, while the people on the inside hadn't realized that yet.
Yeah, that's pretty. I love that. I love that perspective, right? We talk a lot about how, KW is the biggest kept secret in the industry, right? Like, we need to start telling our story more. And the reason why you're on this call is because we're with market centers who are definitely doing that. Like they're using Command at a higher level than other market centers in our region. And the goal is to, help our other market centers get there because, I think it's definitely a great tool. And I played around with most CRMs on the market, and I can say that it definitely competes. And there's always going to be, issues, just like there's issues with every piece of technology. And when you have 180,000 agents all giving their opinion, it can take a little bit longer to build, right? We just have to figure out, okay, what do most of our agents want? Because, all these agents want this, and they want this. It's like, okay, how are we going to prioritize? Like I was talking to Jason last week. I'm like, hey, can we get this? He goes, you know what? We used to have that, and then nobody used it, right?
Yep.
So we took it away because everyone asked for it. And then I think what happens is then they start to realize, wait, I actually do want that. Once they start to dig in, they're like, wait, that thing that we didn't use that they used to have, I kind of need that now. And so it's kind of like this cycle, right? And it's just very, very interesting.
Let me give you an analogy, because this has been fascinating to me, watching this from several. I'm pretty old school, right? I was just old enough not to be. Google was a company after I graduated college, so I didn't have what all you young kids have today in terms of technology. So it's been a huge learning experience. But here's the analogy I would give you: watching the vehicle, which is Command, which is going to change the industry, which is already changing a lot of our agents' businesses. That vehicle can't look the same to everyone. And what I mean by that is, I see my friend Patty on here. Patty may really love that Porsche 911 because it goes really fast and it's 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. I love my F-150 truck, right? So what you've got is you've got labs and agents all over saying, I want the big fluffy seats that are heavy, that are leather, and I want 4-wheel drive. But Patty's going, wait a minute, I want to go 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. So we're building this vehicle. It's amazing. And the analogy that I'll give you, since we talked about Apple right after this, is that I love what Erin just said. Basically, her savings of $18,000 a year, that's a cap. And in my Market Center I'm OP of, I have a vision that my top agents never pay to sell real estate again. The problem is, as a team leader, I lived through the phase of being the consultant of choice because I had this red book and I knew how to coach agents to build their business at a dramatic level. I was the person they went to with their questions about building business. Along the way, technology it trumped the broker model, if you will. And so we lost that ability to consult, and suddenly we were looked at as a commodity. And agents said, wait, I'm paying you a cap of $18,000 a year, $20,000 a year. And I get more out of my technology. And as a team leader, I couldn't possibly know, Boomtown and Sync and Follow. I couldn't know all those things. I couldn't help an agent with their particular technology. It's going to be a game changer for us. So here's the analogy that I'm really starting to understand now, that if you'll breathe with me through this conversation and kind of think differently about it. One of my best friends is the #1 agent in Branson, Missouri. And you might say, wow, it's a huge market, right? Went from $3 million to $40 million in the last couple of years. And he did it completely by owning and dominating Zillow in that market. And I don't want to tell you what they spend each month on Zillow, and it's a lot, but they're buying their business. Now, they're great agents, and he and his wife are wonderful human beings. But here's what I think no one would argue. If you dominate Zillow, if you had all the Zillow leads in your market, you would sell real estate, right? Now, you do it at a cost of $14 to $28 per lead. That's a different story. But if go back to pre-Zillow, right? If you were an agent, just think about world domination, Nick. So let's say we start an expansion team and we cut a deal with Zillow. They're trying to get off the ground. We said, hey, we'll pay you X amount of dollars, but we want to own every zip code. We want all Zillow leads, right? Now, they would have never gone for it, but let's say they did. Imagine what our real estate team would do. So if you think about that time, that's this time with Facebook Lead Accelerator. It's this time with Command. When you understand that 10 years from now, you have the ability, if you build your database, you will dominate. Jeff Cohn is a good friend of mine and helped recruit him to Keller Williams. He's in Omaha, Nebraska. Listen to the stat. He has 450,000 people in his database that have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in Omaha real estate. Now, that may not sound that big. 450,000 is pretty big. But you know what's crazy about that, Nick? There's 120,000 houses in Omaha. So when he dominates Facebook Lead Accelerator, stays in touch with them every 2 weeks. I mean, he continues. He went from like 70 transactions to 1,000 in the last 3 years because he's dominated that data bank. Imagine as he positions that over, and he's a big Boomtown guy, and he's slowly coming over to Command. And I told him, don't get rid of Boomtown yet, right? Let's use both. If you're getting, his average cost per lead is something like $10. If we can do $2, now what we've done is we've made his average cost of lead $6, right? You with me? So I said, use both of them. You've got the capacity, let's use both of them. And then when you feel comfortable, then let's shift over. There's no race in this. But here's the last analogy I'm going to give you, full of analogies today. What I've seen behind the curtain, if you will, from Josh and others is they have truly built a platform much like the iPhone has. And what I mean by that is every other technology company, every other real estate company is now building what I'm going to call apps while we built the platform. And Nick, you know this, you were part of Future. You saw all the third-party tech companies rushing to integrate with our platform. And that's the part that we haven't seen yet. That's the part where down the road, when we have the iPhone and every other real estate company and tech company is kind of mitigated to going through our platform to get access to our agents, that's when we truly win, when we dominate.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up because inside of Command, we're calling them applets, right? Like it's more than just a CRM, right? And once you start getting these companies, like Vlogeasy that won Future, or Conversion Monster, which came in first, who is working on their integration. I mean, how cool would it be if you're generating leads through Lead Accelerator, and you can turn Conversion Monster on and off like a light switch, right? Yeah. Like, because it's right in there, right? Like you run an ad, spend $100, generate 100 leads, turn Conversion Monster on, and they go to town. I mean, that's just the stuff that is really going to change the entire game. And so I'm excited for that to happen. We just have to wait. It's a slow process, but over the last, 18 to 20 months, I mean, Command is like night and day. Remember when they released it at Family Reunion? It was like, what? Didn't do anything. So I want to ask you about, from a growth perspective, because, now you're the director of growth. What are you seeing now that, and because as a tech trainer going down my top 200 and having tech audits with them, I'm actually seeing teams using it more than I expected, right? Like they come on the call because they think it's a call about going over Command, and they're like, oh yeah, we're using it, or oh, we're doing this. And it's super refreshing to hear that. So from a growth perspective, in terms of usage and the value that agents are getting out of it, or agents joining our company because of it, what differences are you seeing, if that makes sense?
So we're just on the very precipice of this, and thank you for that question, because unfortunately, here's what I think we're seeing. We're growing faster than we're losing agents. That's always a good thing, right? If you're the director of growth. But I would tell you that we've made a giant pivot as a company. As everyone knows, we were a real estate company that we made our bones on having the best training in the world. That's who we were. To shift that into being a technology company has not been an easy transition, if you will. So we have a lot of people who've looked up and said, you know what, I hang out at my country club. I do 12 deals a year with my sphere of influence. I don't need any of your technology. And they're not looking for the tech. They don't understand it yet. I will tell you what's the game changer that's just starting to show up, and we're already seeing it, is the predictive analytics. And this is where I'm going to go a little bit geeky with you, and I apologize, but I've had two major challenges as a real estate coach for real estate agents over the last 20 years. The first one is to get them to build a database at all, right? Well, with Facebook Lead Accelerator, with Command, with the integration, that's going to be solved for you. I mean, it cannot be easier to build the database. The second thing is getting agents to actually follow up with, communicate with, lead generate from that database. Same thing. This technology solves that. But here's where it's crazy. And this is this is the part I'm not supposed to share, and I keep sharing it to get myself in trouble, because I told you that's what I do. But
nobody's watching, Mark. We're good.
Good. I keep telling Josh, when I'll know, we will take over the industry. Everyone will join us in this one moment when I can go to my phone first thing in the morning, and I can say to it, and it used to be, we used to call it Kelly, right? And I could say, Kelly, show me the 5 people in my database most likely to move next. And based on their time in their home, the equity in their home, all the movement around them, all the trends, the migration patterns, all the predictive analytics, 5 names pop up, and I can hit a button, text them, call them, do whatever I want. And all 5 of those people go, oh my gosh, my spouse and I were just talking last night that we might want to list our house. We should talk. Like, that's when we know we've won. And that's where we're headed. The predictive analytics that we have already are changing the game. So if you think about, side note, I won't get on my soapbox here, but our industry is being suppressed in terms of commissions, right? We've seen the average commission go from 6.08 in 1995 to 5.12 today. So we've already lost a full percentage point on what we charge as an industry. Different story for a different time. In addition to that, we're paying 25%, a full referral fee on average for a real estate deal done in the industry right now. So take 25% off that 5.12, we're operating at a gross revenue margin of just shy of 4%, 3.9%. So when you think about it from that perspective, we've cut our commissions almost in half from when I started in this industry, right? So we're getting this pressure to charge less, we earn less, et cetera, per deal. Now, the reason we don't notice that, Nick, and why Gary says we're losing so slowly, we think we're winning, is the average sales price keeps going up, right? So we're hiding in that. Here's the second piece, and this is what's going to determine the future of this industry. Can I do twice, if I'm charging half the commission top line, can I do twice the business in the same amount of time I used to do, one sale? If I can do 2 houses in the time I did one with the same amount of effort, I don't care if my top line was cut in half. You with me? But that's what the future of this industry, and what concerns me as a market center owner and as a director of growth, is the 1Z, 2Z, 3Z agents a year. I don't think are going to survive. They're either going to turn into 15 to 30 units, or they're going to get out of the business. And so I think a lot of and we're already seeing this, right? During the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of the business go to the top agents. We can see it in our company dollar. We can see different things. So how do we combat that? As a director of growth, we have to recruit it in, because we have a revenue cap model. The thing that we're bringing back, and you might have noticed, we launched we brought Wealth Building Wednesday back, and we're really heavy focus on profit share. There's no reason that a top agent in our company shouldn't be earning $30, $40, $50, $100,000 a year in passive income while dominating their market. So I think that's how we're going to grow. And I keep saying win, but it's so interesting. If you've read The Infinite Game, you understand Gary Keller, right? Like it's so fun because we're actually doing things for the entire industry, and it's a little frustrating, but we're fighting this fight with big tech, right? For the entire industry. And we put our arms around our brothers and sisters at our competitors, and that's all great. I think at some point in the future, it's going to be really hard for the traditional dependent model companies to stay in business.
You said something really interesting, and I firmly believe it. Like, listen, you're going to have to say, because commissions are being combated, suppressed. Thanks, Mark. Those fancy words like suppressed, they don't come to my brain as easily. But it's with the pandemic or whenever there's a shift or whatever, right? Like, there's always going to be a fallout, and I'm seeing, and I know you guys are too. You just mentioned it. The teams in my region are having their best year ever.
Yeah.
In the middle of like the highest unemployment since 2007, they're having their best.
I got to tell you, sorry to interrupt you. You got me really excited. I've got to jump on the national call here in a couple minutes, but we're announcing, we just had our best month in the history of Keller Williams in July as a company, right? I mean, so you see market centers and agents, breaking records, doing all these things. And a little bit of that is a delay, a little lag in purchasing from Q2 because of COVID, et cetera. And we got to be cautiously optimistic because we don't know what the fallout's going to be yet. But if you think about what that means, right? We know that we're the only national real estate company that did that this month. When you think about what that means, and we did it through recruiting, we did it through technology, even the limited amount that we use, we have a zero cost mortgage that is driving business, right? We have the lowest possible insurance platform on the market. We've got some really cool things coming, and I can't tell you what they are today because I'll get myself in more trouble, but we got some really cool things coming around Keller offers that'll be nationwide. We've got some cool things that I'm not allowed to talk about. Just tease it.
The things that you did mention is about being disruptive. Like there's never really been a brokerage that's disrupted pretty much every industry, right? Tech.
Well,
mortgage.
We gave it away. If you think about it, we had it and we gave it away. We had the training, we had the different things, and we gave away that disruption. And other companies, Zillow came in and disrupted our industry. If you look at their top line revenue and you see that money comes from real estate agents, ultimately comes from their commissions, right? And if they came in and disrupted us, and now we're returning the favor. But you look at all the different things, Nick, it's unbelievable.
Well, you know what I've noticed, and I know you have to jump off, but I've noticed this, right? So when we start releasing our tech, especially with the app, we released the app, and we had the feature where you could add a co-buyer, you could add a collaborator to your search. Within 2 or 3 weeks after our app came out, Zillow then updated their app with the ability to add a co-buyer, right? Then on a further update, we released the ability to request a video tour led by an agent with Zoom, FaceTime, Messenger, whatever. 2-3 weeks later, Zillow did the same thing. Zillow is chasing us now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Legit chasing us and updating their app based on what we're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Crazy. And here's the last thing I'll share with you, and I got to jump. And I thank you so much for letting me come on today. You know, a lot of times at the broker level or the brokerage national franchise level, you look at big numbers, a lot of big numbers, and you see, you know, it may be that royalty goes up. Well, agents don't care about that, right? So the way that you test to see if you're healthy is what's happening with agent commissions. So I want to share with you, in the history of Keller Williams, since it was created, we've never done $1 billion in closed GCI. Never done it until July, 1.1. So what happens is we're breaking records with agent commissions. That's the leading indicator. That's because of the leader we have, who's going to have realtor on his headstone when he passes. Hopefully it's 1,000 years from now, right? But at the end of the day, that we're playing the infinite game. Put the agent first. This is a grand experiment. If we make the agent's life and job the easiest possible, and we provide the tools and the tech and the no-cost loans and the low-cost mortgages and all the other things that we give to the consumer, then we believe we win, right? Whatever winning looks like. So when you look at the agent commissions and you see them breaking records month after month, you know you're on the right path. So we call that win-win around here.
I love it, dude. Well, listen, I appreciate it. I literally texted Mark yesterday. I was like, Mark, can you jump on this call? So it was spur of the moment. So I appreciate that you took the time, and I know you got to jump off for the national call, but thanks for being here. A lot of takeaways. Have an awesome day, man. Thanks for coming on.
You guys are awesome. Hi, Phil. See y'all later. Bye, Patty. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so we're going to bring on our next guest. Kimberlee, are you here? I know I just saw you jump in.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yay, Kimberlee's here. Hey, Kimberlee.
Hi.
Hey, Kimberlee, do you want to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. My name is Kimberlee Meserve. I'm an agent in Boston, Massachusetts. I have a small but mighty team, and I'm very buyer heavy in my business just because I've only lived in Boston for 2 years now. Gonna do about 25 million, having had no database here when I moved here, and I've completely built my business through first-time homebuyer seminars.
Yeah, so I prefaced why I brought you on before, but the reason why I'm bringing Kimberlee on is because she's using opportunities at a super high level, like more than anybody I've ever seen use it. And since she really started to double down and create her lead generation system from opportunities, I mean, she's going to go from 11 million to 25, and her pipeline is, we made a deal. I said to Kimberlee that she has 1 million GCI in her opportunity. She doesn't make 1 million GCI, but if she has 1 million GCI in her pipeline, then I would buy her a drink at Mega Camp. But there is no Mega Camp in person this year. Shucks. I guess I don't have to buy you that drink. But anyway, it was a deal and it was a goal, and so you're almost there, right? And so I want to talk about, like, what is our process when you're lead generating. I've noticed in your pipeline, you always have at least 35 or 40% of your business in Cultivate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Really home Cultivate. So can you talk about what your process is around your lead generation and adding people to that phase?
Yeah, definitely. So because I have a lot of my clients that kind of come into my world that are like 6 to 12 months out, nurturing is really important, obviously. And I am just a super high D, like whatever is kind of the immediate thing is always grabbing my attention. So when you have that personality, it's really easy to let things slip through the cracks. And so I've had to force myself to become such a nurturer. So immediately, like, every time I have a workshop, which we're doing like 2 to 3 a month, so we're doing a really high level, I'm always identifying with people like where they're at in the search process. And if they're really like 12-ish months or less, I try to get them into my world, because the statistics show that about 78% of buyers will work with the first agent that they meet. So I am inserting myself into the process as early as possible, and I want to stay in touch with them. Same with listings. Like, I've had a few of a few referrals that have been sent to me that they're buyers for next year, but they're also going to be selling. So I really need to like push myself to be a nurturer. And so I've used Cultivate as a process for that. So the second I have anybody that raises their hand as being a buyer or seller, they will go into my opportunities. It's okay if I don't have a price point yet, especially with a lot of these buyers, they may not totally have gone through the pre-approval process. I'll typically just attach like my average price point to them. I've kind of like gamified this system and it's allowed me to really stay on top of things. One of my biggest things is I absolutely hate wasting money. Any type of like lead that I feel like the money is being wasted, that's my biggest pet peeve. So putting the dollar amount into every single person that goes into opportunities has really forced me to get a lot better at my follow-up and stay on top of nurturing people, because I see like, okay, that's a $10,000 person. And it's not that I don't care about the people, like I care about everybody, but I just know how I function, and that if I feel like I'm losing $10,000, that's really going to motivate me to stay on top of it.
So talk about your, because you've been highlighted a lot about your pivot from in-person buyer seminars to virtual Zoom seminars. And, you know, Kimberlee's business has always been very belly to belly, you know, face to face. She's not huge on internet lead generation unless she's running ads for her home buyer seminars. And that's how you add a lot of people to Cultivate. Can you just touch upon how you're doing that? You don't have to get too detailed. We have plenty of webinars with Kimberlee on YouTube. Talk about how you're doing that and how you're getting really motivated people through Facebook to jump on these seminars with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've closed a few clients that at this point I never even met them in person because of COVID. So what we were doing before was we were doing an in-person event at a brewery, and then my whole year and my goal is work backwards based on knowing my numbers. So I'm tracking every single event I do. I know how many people typically attend. I usually have about a 17 to 20% conversion rate. So when COVID hit, and we were pretty early in Massachusetts, like this was like mid-March that we really got aggressive and shut down. I couldn't just stop doing these events because there would go my whole goal for the year. So we immediately just pivoted to doing them on Zoom. Same process of getting them into the Eventbrite, registering, and then everything is just on Zoom. And it's been interesting because I have a showing assistant who helps me with showings. All of my buyer consultations are done virtually. So I've actually had a few clients now that have closed on houses that I never met them in person, which is pretty funny.
Well, you know, I love that you were able to pivot like that, and you're doing these seminars and you're getting people who are, you know, really raising their hand. And so those are the people that are primarily going into your cultivation phase. Do you have a goal every day? Like when you're sitting down for your lead generation, you're like, okay, I'm going to add 10 people to Cultivate or 5 people to Cultivate. Do you have like a goal around that?
I don't, because I actually am at a point where I'm kind of overwhelmed with the amount of business I have. I have 98 opportunities in my pipeline right now. So it's a lot to stay on top of.
Can I ask you to show your
Yeah.
screen? Okay, you have to.
You have to let me share though.
Oh, I do. Oh, I have to find you. Here we go. Kimberlee, make host. Okay, you're the host now, so you can basically. I've handed over the controls to you.
So this is what my opportunities looks like. I think the biggest thing for me about it it's allowed me to be really secure in like my goal setting, and just, you know, like we're actually in the most competitive real estate market in the country right now. And I've been 2 weeks now without an accepted offer, which kind of gives me anxiety. But then I look at my pipeline and I'm like, okay, I've got a lot coming. I've got a listing coming on. It's going to be okay. So just seeing what I have for business allows me to really feel like I have a handle on things. So what I'm doing kind of on a daily basis is just going into Cultivate. I've customized these just based on where they are in the timeline. Some of these people, I try to get them to an appointment as soon as possible. But some people, you know, they just have things going on in their life. They're just not even going to consider it. Maybe they're saving for a wedding. So people are in different phases. And then daily, I'm just going through here, checking to see if I need to touch base with anybody. A lot of times cross-referencing them with their MLS search, because I can see how active people are on the MLS, looking at their matches every day. And then appointment, I've got a bunch of people I'm working on scheduling, things that are scheduled, kept. These people usually are like, I've talked to them, but they may not be ready to get set up on a search. It might have just been a phone call, and we might go back and forth here, moving them back to an appointment. And then this is my active pipeline. So I customize this signed searching. So again, I try to get people into buyer agency as soon as possible. So because I might have people that are 12 months out that I'm signing to buyer agency, I'm not going to be showing them houses if they can't put an offer in. So they go into this signed searching category, actively showing, and then people I'm negotiating. And then where I really started to customize tasks is in the under contract phase. So this is something I've been working on with my assistant, and I had an assistant, now I don't, and then I have a new one starting in a few weeks. What happens when they close is there's a whole checklist of things that they have to do. So I create a graphic, I have to update their tagging, add them to a smart plan, move the status in opportunities. So that's kind of the depth of customization I've gotten into, but there's definitely a lot more that I want to do. It's just not my high D personality.
Yeah. So I have, you notice that Kimberlee's very buyer heavy, because she's running those home buyer seminars. Are you noticing that some of those people over time, they're going to have homes to sell? Maybe it'll be, maybe not a first time buyer seminar. But even so, like your pipeline, $932,142.50. I mean, that is such a motivating, like I know you're not driven by money, right? But like when you just said, okay, I'm at a closing in 2 weeks, I'm kind of freaking out. And then you go, okay, wait, I have 30 people in Cultivate. So it's like, right?
Yeah.
You start doing that lead generation around those 30 people. And I always tell agents in our region when I'm talking to them, Cultivate's the most important phase. I mean, it really is, because everything past Cultivate is right now. Right. And the business doesn't thrive on the right now. It thrives on what's coming down the line in the future.
Yeah. So for me, I'm always wanting to see this number go up every month, pretty much. I did kind of flatten out between last month and this month because I had a lot of buyers I was working with that just their motivation was not high enough. When I say we're in a competitive market, I mean, things are going 60, 70,000 over. People are waiving appraisals. People are waiving inspections. Like if someone's not willing to compete right now, I just can't work with them. But some of them may just go back into like a nurturing phase. If they're like, yeah, I mean, I want to buy a house, but right now might not be the right time. And I'm like, great, I'll be your agent when you are ready and you're ready to be serious about it. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and the great thing about this is it really helps with goal setting. So like last year when I was sitting down with my coach to talk about goals for this year, I was like, I don't know, like 25 million feels like a really big number. And then we looked at my pipeline and it was like, I have the pipeline to support it. And next year, as I'm bringing on agents, our goal is to do over 200 transactions. And like, I know I'm going to hit my numbers because I see what's in my pipeline. I know what I have coming up and I know what my activities yield. So I just have to do X amount of events and I'll get there. So that's how I've kind of utilized this.
What I've noticed here, honestly, like if you look at March, right when COVID started, your pipeline did nothing but go up. Do you think, because before you're doing those in-person seminars, right? Like are the virtual buyer seminars on Zoom? I mean, is that part of the reason why that line is just going up, and right when COVID hit?
I don't really think so. So we actually have slightly less attendance than the in-person ones, but we have higher conversion. So I went from like a 17% conversion to about 20%. I think what this really was I couldn't do anything. So like we couldn't go out, I couldn't hang out with friends. So I just worked all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, I just worked. I just couldn't leave the house. So I just worked. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good enough reason. I mean, what would you say? Do you think that the ability to track this, I mean, it's visual, right? The ability to track this and see everything at a bird's eye view. I mean, has that played a part in the upward motion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've always been a pipeline person, but before it was like a spreadsheet. I think the visuals of it is huge. I know some agents in my office that have like similar goals to what I do this year, and they're nowhere near that, but they're kind of the people that just run on like, maybe I'll get another listing, or like maybe something else will come into my world. And you can't really run a successful business at a high level just always waiting for that next thing to maybe show up. Like you need to have stuff in your pipeline that you're nurturing. And for me, it helps a lot with my anxiety too, because it's like, all right, I know I'll have business. It's okay.
Yeah. I love it. This is great. So give me some advice, you know, for, because the people you're talking to now, they're in market centers that are using Command at a very high level, much higher than the other market centers in our region, and they're using opportunities. What's one thing in opportunities that you kind of did? I noticed you customized certain things. You customized, you know, time frames. You added some checklists. Do you think customization is important? Or is there something else that someone could do within opportunities that would, you know, just make it more personal?
So I don't think it's like customizing is the most important. I think what the most important thing is like, any agents on here, put every single piece of business that you have coming up in here, so you know where everything is in one place. And then Market Center leadership, like definitely encourage your agents to do that. Any person that raises their hand having interest in buying or selling real estate goes in my pipeline, like no matter what. And it's easy to have that centralized place where everything is. You can see what's coming up. You can see like a visual of it every day. So I go in and I check in like, okay, who do I need to talk to on here? This is part of my lead follow-up, is going through this list every day. So I think the most important thing is just get things in there. And I know a lot of this may be, you know, at market centers that people aren't engaged as much, but I know a lot of agents that only put it in once it's like an active piece of business, or once it goes under agreement. So I think the most important part is putting it in ahead of time so that you can have a predictable and repeatable business.
So that's a great piece of advice. One more question. What do you do for someone who is, you know, 9 to 12 months out? Like, that's something that's really scary to a lot of agents. You know, what's that follow-up look like? How do I keep them? How do I keep it in front of them? What do you typically do if someone tells you that? What does that follow-up look like?
Yeah, so at a minimum level, what happens is everybody gets set up on a search in the MLS. I can see how actively they're engaging. I've also been really intentional lately about sending everybody my app. So I tell them like the MLS is going to be your most up-to-date, accurate source of information, but here's my app for a more mobile friendly browsing experience. So I can also see what they're looking at for properties on there. So at minimum, everybody's getting set up on the MLS, and then I'll see, it kind of depends. Like I have some buyers that are further out, but they love to give feedback on every single property that comes in their search. So they're engaging at a lot higher of a level. And part of it is setting expectations. So what I say is like, listen, we're going to get you set up on a search. You may not be ready to go out and actively look at properties, but you're going to have seen what things are coming on the market for and what they're selling for. And it will also give us time to adjust your search if needed. And when you are ready to go out and put an offer in, you're now going to be one of the most educated buyers out there. And people are just like, yeah, that sounds great. So at minimum, they're getting set up on a search. Then I have a system where I follow up with them every like few weeks based on how far out they are. And I may hear from them before that, but it's pretty much just staying in touch. Like any single person that should be in your database, you should be staying in touch with them a minimum of 36 times a year.
Yeah. I just want to give people a little tip. Here's how you keep in touch with people 24 times a year, right? Through Command. Neighborhood nurture, that's 12. Quarterly call, that's 4. Happy birthday is 4. Happy home anniversary is 2. So simple. Those 4, smart planned combination, 24 touches. Awesome. Well, does anyone have any? Give me the controls back. You know I don't like to. Okay. You know I don't like when I'm not in control. Just kidding. Give me the controls.
Hang on.
Oh my God, thank you so long. Cool. So does anybody have any questions or ahas from today's session? I'm going to be sending all you guys the recording so you can watch it. But there was a lot of great information. But if nobody does, then that's cool. But if somebody does.
Hi, Marion Grout from Birmingham, Michigan.
Hey, Mary.
Kimberlee, congratulations on running such a great business. It's amazing. So just curious about your seminars. It's something I want to implement here. I know you were doing them in person. Did you write your own seminars? Did you work with a marketing person? How did you do that?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great question. So what I did was there's actually a PowerPoint on KW Connect that you can download. Don't ask me for the link of it because I don't know where it is, but it's like a win with seminars, first time home buyer. So what I started with was I based it off of that. And then over time it's evolved and I kind of customized my own PDF booklet that everybody gets. But it's pretty much just based off that. So we're talking about what's going on in the market, financing, everything we need to know, what's included in that, and then what's the overall process. And then we talk about different types of properties from a realtor perspective and then a financing perspective. So overall, like it's all the information, and most people want to know about financing particularly. There are a couple of resources too if you really want to dig more into my first time homebuyer stuff. Nick and I have done one-on-one with lab coats. Also, if you're in the Pivot Shift Facebook group, I did a interview with James Shaw, and there's a lot more like practical application stuff. And then I'm also going to be on a panel for Mega Camp in about a month talking about this as well.
Also, there's on Connect, her episode of Life with Gary is on Connect in the video section, and that's a 30-minute session she did with one-on-one with Gary. It's really, really good. It's about virtual buyer seminar. So definitely check that one out too. It's in the
Thank you.
It's in the playbook actually. If you go to Kate, if you go to out front, I think if you go to out front in the video section in the playbook, it's in that area. When the new Connect comes out, it'll be much easier to like figure out where the videos are. But that's cool. Anybody else have any other questions? Anybody? Okay, cool. It's okay if you don't. You're taking it all in. It's like digesting. Cool. Well, I appreciate. Oh, Logan has a question. Of course, Logan. What's up?
How's it going? Kimberlee, obviously you're extremely buyer heavy. Is most of that business coming from those seminars?
Yeah, about
Or do you think you
75.
make ads?
About 75%. My other 25 is really from agent to agent referrals, but I'm at a point right now where I'm trying to like back myself out of the buyer side of things. I just hired a buyer's agent, so I can focus more on listings, but that's always been pretty much my main source of business. Because I didn't have a database here, and I just know what I enjoy doing, and I really don't enjoy cold calling. I don't enjoy hounding internet leads. So I found something that was fun for me that I really enjoyed, and I just focused on doing it at a high level.
Yeah, her buyer seminars are, I mean, she's just figured it all out, like honestly. When you edit in the video what you did with Gary, you go into more detail, right?
I think so. I don't remember, honestly.
Well, that's okay. But yeah, no, it's one of the things that Kimberlee learned is if you're advertising a buyer seminar, don't advertise it as like your team, right?
Yeah, so I created, it's like its own event. So I called it Brews and Buying because we used to do it at a brewery. And I've got my own Facebook page for that. It's not coming from my street property team at Keller Williams Facebook page. So people it's a little bit more approachable. People are like, oh, this is a first time homebuyer event. And then they sign up, and I'm not tricking them because when they go to Eventbrite, it's like hosted by me and my lender, and there's some testimonials and stuff. But I mean, I've been doing this since July of 2018, every single month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. So the system has definitely evolved a bit over time because I've done it so many times. And I think part of what I've had success in is that I'm just like really passionate and enthusiastic about this. A lot of it is just based on my experiences that I had when I bought my first house, which was before I had my license, but also the reason I got into real estate. And there are a lot of things that my agent didn't tell me about. And so we kind of preface it at the beginning. It's like, hey, we're here to educate you on the whole process and make it a lot easier for you to get started. And we have one of the hugest misconceptions in our area is that it's just too expensive. Like my average price point is around $550, and I mostly work with first-time buyers. So I have first-time buyers that are spending $550,000 to $800,000 on their first home. But you have to, you know, you just really educate them on the reality of it is like, cool, you could pay similar, like the purchase price might be a sticker shock to you, but what's the monthly payment? Maybe less than what you're paying in rent.
Yeah. And by the way, the same thing will help if you're trying to promote your app with a Facebook ad. You're going to get much better luck if you're not promoting your app with, you know, Nick Baldwin at Keller Williams Realty. Come up with some catchy, you know, Facebook page to run ads for your app. And it's not that you're not being dishonest, you're just branding yourself in a different way. So Bruise and Buying, you know, even though when they jump on, they know there's a realtor there. It's a psychological thing. Oh, if I go to this Kimberlee Meserve street property group at Keller Williams, I'm going to just be, you know, hounded and, you know, they're going to try to get me to work with them. It's just that they don't want that pressure, right?
So back in 2018, when you started that, what was the database you were using to invite people?
All I do is run Facebook ads. So I didn't know anybody in this area when I lived here. And so we just did Facebook ads. Anybody can do them on command now. I just started kind of before, and I have a system that works for me, so I've never really switched it over to command. But it's super simple. I'm just running a Facebook ad. Hey, Boston, are you interested in buying a home? Come find out about the special financing programs available to first-time buyers. And then it just sends them to a link to my Eventbrite page. The Eventbrite has a little bit more information on what exactly we'll cover, as well as some testimonials that I've gathered over time that are just like buyers that are like, hey, like she's super approachable, friendly, like we didn't feel sold on anything. All the things that like that demographic is nervous about, kind of averting those fears up front. They register on Eventbrite, and then the day before the event, we're confirming via text and sending them a link to a Zoom room, and we do it live.
But not talking to anybody to confirm, you're just texting.
I don't. I just think that like I probably would get like slapped on the wrist for saying this, but I think it's important to communicate with people in the way that they want to be communicated with. And just from working with a lot of buyers that are my similar demographic and just knowing myself, I would much rather be texted than called, because it's just easy. Like you can be at work and someone could say, hey, I just want to make sure you're going to be there. You just send them a quick text back. So I think it's really important to communicate with people in the way that they want to be communicated with. And that's one of the things when I do a buyer consultation, I'm always asking like, hey, what's your preferred method of communication? Call, text, email is fine with me. And 99% of the time they'll say, I would really prefer you text me. Now, obviously, if we're talking about putting an offer together or something like that, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. But the quickest, easiest way is to get in touch with them via text.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Kimberlee. I appreciate it. I don't want to keep you any longer. With the pipeline that full, I'm sure you got to go.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you jumping on. And I hope everyone took some takeaways from that. Pivoting your business virtually, you know, doubling down on opportunities. I mean, it really does help. So that was great. So I appreciate all the information. Thanks, Kimberlee. Thanks, Kimberlee.
Thanks for having me.
Well, guys, we're gonna jump off unless there's any last minute questions, comments, or concerns. But I will send out this recording to everybody. All the team leaders and Market Center technology trainers will get the recording. You guys can share it with all of your agents, because I think it's pretty valuable. A lot of things that were said here. And I appreciate you being on this call. I would like to do a call like this once a month for vital signs. So keep your vital signs high. Keep using opportunities, contacts, and smart plans. And we'll get more cool guests like Marc, Erin, and Kimberlee once a month to do this stuff. I think it'll be beneficial. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great Monday. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, see ya.